Hi, everybody. I'm Robin, and these are my reflections. And today we are here to do the book reflections. These are all of the books that I read, reviewed, or just plain I wanted to talk about in July. These are books that are either going to be metaphysical, tarot, or self help related. That they come in. Sometimes I buy them, sometimes they're already on my shelf, sometimes they come in for review. And I just like talking about books. I put them all here. I do one at the end of every month, usually the last day of the month. If you want to check out other books that I've talked about in this series, you can check my book reflections playlist. So let's just get right into it. Let's start with a couple of books that I read cover to cover, and then we'll get into the ones that I've just been referencing this month that I want to talk to you guys about because I think they're cool. We're going to start with Tarot and Oracle Card Reading for Dummies. This is written by Charles Harrington. You might recognize that name um, because he authored the Tarot of Vampires for Llewellyn. He authored the Odyssean Oracle, which I just reviewed a couple of weeks back. He authored Tarot V. He has done a lot of guidebooks for a lot of tarot and oracle decks. And now he has a full book out. I love the way he writes, and I like the way he writes about tarot. So when I had the opportunity to review this, I was all in, and I love this. I remember reading one of these when I was younger, when I was like a kid, sitting on the floor of like Barnes and Noble and reading this book, and going to Barnes and Noble specifically to look in here for things because I didn't have money to buy books back then. So I used to sit on the floor. If you know, you know. Anyway, I remember having one of these when I was a kid. So I was excited to. This is how, I learned. These are the ways that we learned how to read tarot back then. We didn't have apps, we didn't have YouTube. It's an excellent book for anybody who wants to kind of dive deep and get all of those little nitpicky things about how we use the cards, why we use the cards, what we're doing with the cards. There's a little bit of everything in here, from cleansing to picking a deck to what the cards mean to you, to spreads, to how to use tarot and how to use oracle and how to use them together and what's the difference, and all of those things that are written in this book. This is one of those kind of working through it from beginning to end and really learning how to read it. It's exercises included in here, and it's like a workbook, but you don't write in it. There's nowhere to really write in it, but if you have like a journal alongside of it, you can use it like a workbook. So you start with getting started with tarot and oracle. So you have all of the history and what is tarot and how to become a reader. And then you've got mastering card reading basics. So this is shaping your practice, nailing the mechanics of a reading, selecting a tarot spread. And then you've got exploring what the tarot cards mean. So now you've got making connections, doing tarot readings step by step. And you can see that's 20 pages of how to do a tarot reading step by step. And then a treasury of tarot card meanings. So from page 145 to 225, you've got just the meanings of the cards. Then you've got embracing oracle cards, and there's a whole section here from 225 to 257 on how to approach oracle systems, how to use oracle cards to divine, how to select an oracle spread, and what spreads are best for what kinds of readings. This last part here is sort of some advice from a pro tarot reader, things that limit new readers, things that he learned along the way. And then there's an index in the back. So in this introduction, in his voice, he talks about what, tarot cards do for people, why people use them, and how we're going to kind of unlock the mysteries behind the artwork of tarot, and how we can use them to help us along. He talks about the different parts of the book. And then you have these sort of outlines here and these little tips and tricks. And as you go along, you're going to find these little graphics that help you to kind of zone in. So you've got the tip icon, which is a little light bulb, mark suggestions and shortcuts that you can use to make your reading experience easier. You've got the remember icon that helps, that's like a little highlight this in your mind, like this is what you can kind of take away. And then you've got it in the cards. This points to exercises for you. So let's just look at one of the chapters so you can see how it's laid out. This is chapter 8, Making Connections. There's an in this chapter at a glance, so it tells you everything that's in the chapter. And this one is introducing the equation of meaning, thinking through your 4 factors that contribute to a card's meaning, start standing the cards on their heads with reversals, and then connecting the dots with non-scenic or pip decks. So those are the things that we're going to focus on in the chapter of Making Connections. There's a little intro section on working with the equation of meaning. What they mean by that is there is an equation to discerning what a card means. There are different things that you have to look at for every card. And part of it is what you're asking, right? So, people say, oh, the card has so many different meanings and it can mean this and it can mean that. Well, how do I pick which one? This is the equation to help you break that down. So they talk about what does it mean? Even if your little white book doesn't offer up a handful of keywords, remember that no book can give you the exact interpretation of what a card means in answer to your question. So when I interpret a card, the meaning comes from these factors, which I think of as an equation of meaning. One, what is your question? Number two, the card's position in the spread and where it's upright and whether it's upright or reversed. Part three, official meaning and correspondences. And then part four, your intuitive response. So we have to add all of that together in an equation to get the meaning, right? So it says here, if you're doing a general, what does the tarot want to tell me today reading? And the possibilities can be pretty broad. But suppose you're asking about how to complete a complex project that works successfully and you draw the Empress. In that case, you can discard the card's meanings about motherhood, physical nourishment, and sensuality. Instead, you focus on the aspects of the card that can relate to your question, like creativity, developing an abundant mindset, and possibly even self care. No card relates, and then there's a tip here to remember, no card relates only to a certain type of reading. I sometimes hear readers say that they asked about their marriage and the cards came up and the cards that came up were telling them about their job. I believe this disconnect comes from a narrow view of what suits and cards can refer to. For example, the Lovers does indeed make Clarence smile when it shows up in a romance reading. Still, its general energy or essence can apply to issues around business, health, creative projects, and what you should have for dinner and everything else that you ask about. So then it says asking for advice versus prediction, the card's position and taking direction. And it talks about directionality and where things are, if it's in the future, if it's in an actions part of your spread, if it's in the challenge part of your spread, an environment part of your spread, if it's your significator, how can that change what the card might mean? The card itself carries the same energy throughout, but it's expressed differently. And then it gives you a test drive idea. So it says to test drive this idea, imagine a person who came to you who's single and looking to improve their love life. In particular, they want to date more. Perform the 4 card spread shown in figure 8.2. That's this one, using just one card. Pull a single card and consider how you interpret it in each position. Starting with position 1, which is a type of person you should look for in a romantic match. And then you're going to move the same card through each position and see how you would view that card from a new angle if it was in each position. That's an activity that you can do to kind of practice. And you could do that again and again with different cards. And you can write that down if that's how you learn. These exercises that he gives you in the book are going to give you sort of a reference, a Rolodex of meanings and things to think about. And the more you practice that, the faster they'll come to you, right? So it says, if you're ever feeling stuck, use the language of the position like a writing prompt to help you vocalize the meaning. This is a tip. So the type of person you should date is, when meeting new people, you should emphasize your blank. A major red flag to look for is blank. So use the words to help you then vocalize what you're trying to say. Here he talks about reversals, and these are some things that people think why they don't want to use reversals. And then he gives sort of the contrast of that, of why you should maybe consider using reversals and what they can add to your reading, and then how they can change the perspective on a card, even if you're not going to say that the reversals are just going to be the opposite or 78 different meanings altogether. These are some other ways that you can think about reversals in your deck. Here it even discusses, like, if you can talk about talking about the number of cards that are reversed. So if half the cards are reversed, if all of the cards are reversed, if just a few of the cards are reversed, some certain people have different rules. He's just giving you ideas of ways that you can conduct your own practice. For me, if I pull cards and all my cards are reversed, I just assumed I'm holding the deck upside down, right? So I flipped them all upright. But some people might read them all that way. And so these are all things that he just kind of talks about so that you can know and then make those decisions for yourself. Zoning in on the deck you're using, contemplating the traditional meaning, pulling esoteric symbols from the deck. And then it talks about using your intuition in different ways that you can do that. And then it goes into talking about pips, deciphering the pips. How can we work with pips versus a fully illustrated card? It says you can read the pips with the same meanings you use for an RWS deck. And that misses some of the value of the pip system, but it's a perfectly reasonable way to use the fun media tie-in deck with pip miners or maybe a historical reproduction without having to reinvent the wheel. And if you want to use the pips differently, here are a few approaches. And then he gives you, he gives you space to just read it like an RWS, and then he gives you the numerology aspect. And then he talks about like energy as far as how many of certain suits you might find in a deck, if you're and thoughts about that, just sort of the way people think about the number of a suit. If there's more swords, it's going to be a faster moving solution. If it's more pentacles, it'll be slower and things like that. So he talks about all of that in here. There's a little snapshot on the Marseille suits and the differences there, and then that's it. And then you get into a new chapter. So much information in here. You do have an index in the back that you can look up things just like an encyclopedia, which I come from the time of encyclopedias. If I could show you, let me just show you my favorite. This is my favorite crystal book. You can see it's all dirty and gross. I love that it has an index in the back where I can look things up by what I'm looking for. Like if I'm looking for a crystal on anxiety, it gives me 2 pages there. If I'm just looking for a certain name of a crystal, I love an index. So this is fantastic. If I just want to look something up specifically, like you hear a word on tarot tube and you're like, what does that mean? You can look it up in the back in this index and find where it is. I love an index because I come from a time of indexes. And then and then in the back you've got about the author, dedication, and author's acknowledgement. Okay. So that is Tarot and Oracle card reading for dummies. I think this is a fantastic book to put on your shelf, especially if you're a new reader or if you just want a good reference book that contains a lot of different elements all about how to actually use the tarot. If you like Megan Watterson's writing and you haven't read this, I think that you should pick it up. And if you're interested in uh, just Mary Magdalene's Gospels and the things that she wanted to teach the world, I feel like Megan Watterson in this book brings her own thoughts about the theology as well as some of the conspiracy and her own memoir into this in a way that she blends it, and she kind of is trying to, it's an essay on what the world could have been or what we could have for ourselves if Mary's gospel hadn't been hidden, if women hadn't been removed from the church. It's a very feminist outlook on on the Gospel of Mary Magdalene. And I think that if you're interested in something like that, you should definitely pick this up. Or if you just like to read what Megan Watterson has to say, I would pick it up. She has lots of books. I know that I've read a couple and I want to eventually get. So she has Reveal, which I want to get. The Sutras of Unspeakable Joy. The Divine Feminine Oracle. I have that one. How to Love Yourself and Sometimes Other People. I have the one over on the shelf. I haven't read it all. I'm going to go back. And then she also has the Mary Magdalene Oracle, which she did the guidebook for as well, which is beautifully written. And and then this one, which this, according to the New York Times, is a masterpiece. So it says the Gospel of Mary Magdalene reveals a very different love story from the one we've come to refer to as Christianity. Harvard-trained theologian Megan Watterson leads us verse by verse through Mary's gospel to illuminate the powerful teachings it contains. Now, I will say this. If you are the type of person who wants like the actual gospel of Mary written out, it's all broken up in here, you're going to want a different text. Like if I was teaching this if I was teaching lessons on this, I would want my students to have the actual gospel of Mary in a text. I would not use this as the basis of a course. However, this would definitely be some supplementary reading. You know what I mean? So, because there's a lot of her own thoughts mixed in here with the history and her own viewpoints and even her own memoir in here. But I would definitely have this as like a supportive part of my course if I was teaching a course on this. So let's just take a look. So the way she's labeled all of the chapters, I mean, you can take a screenshot of this. It might not bring much to mind when you read it. You're probably going to be like, what? Because every title of every chapter was just like so strange until I read the chapter. And then I was like, oh, that makes sense now, the title. So I think that with her writing, this is just the way she writes. She thinks in similes and metaphor. So I think that the titles reflect that. But you can take a screenshot here if you want to see. She has divided it all into all of the different powers. So there are 7 powers that the gospel refers to, and in the soul ascension, right? There's 7 things that you have to overcome: darkness, craving, ignorance, craving for death, enslavement to the physical body, false peace of the flesh, and then the compulsion of rage. And she talks under each power, she gives commentary, history. She talks about how Mary's gospel and her words stack up against some of her contemporaries, like other apostles and things like that, other people who've written biblical texts. And all of that. So she goes through for each section based on what she's talking about. So for instance, under the power of ignorance, there is lots of chapters on different things that we have misunderstood or things that have been lied to us about, right? Or that we found now that have been just straight up lies, right? And she goes through that in every part of every chapter that's underneath this ignorance section. And the same thing for enslavement to the body and false peace of the flesh. Everything is going to be um, pointing, all those chapters are going to be pointing to that power and those things that you're trying to overcome in life, and how this gospel can help you, and how what Mary, not just what Mary wrote down and what she learned from Christ, but also what the world has forgotten because her teachings were never accepted. What could have been, basically, if we had kept those pages, if we even had them all, that kind of thing. I love that in the back she gave us this reading list of other things. Like if you wanted to fall down this rabbit hole, there's some of the reading list that she thinks would be fantastic for people to get into. So let's take a look at one of the chapters. So let's just read a little bit of this. I'm just going to read a couple of things I'm not going to read a lot. I'm just going to read a couple of things. This is the chapter where she first discovered this Gospel of Mary Magdalene. She talks about how the summer before entering seminary school, she found a translation, Dr. Karen King's translation. She saw it across the bookstore, and she sat in the bookstore and she read it. And she said she started crying just a couple of pages in when Peter calls Mary his sister. And he says that he knows Christ loved her more than all the other women. And he asks her to tell them, the other disciples, what Christ told her that he didn't reveal to them. And then Mary responds by saying, I will teach you about what is hidden from you. Her gospel, her vision of Christ has been buried for so long, and yet in that moment, the reason I cried was because her voice felt like a validation, as if somehow my entire life already included this scripture and its rule as the truth I compared all else to. But now I was holding it in my hand. Her gospel was scriptural evidence of what I already believed in. So she says here, Mary Magdalene stresses in her gospel that Christ has united us and made us true human beings. This is why we should praise his greatness, because he has united us by showing us the way by becoming unified himself. We are capable of integrating the self and the soul, the image and the analog, the human aspect of us, with the eternal self that never changes, what Jung referred to as personality 1 and personality 2. We can become ihidaya, Aramaic for undivided. And this is the ultimate goal, not a distant salvation given to us through repentance or guilt and shame or Hail Marys. We realize this aspect of who we are, our divinity, our angelic form, the nous, or the highest aspect of the soul, by allowing the soul to ascend. This ascension, however, is not about going up and over. It's not about transcendence. This ascension is about going inward, more fully into our own emotions, our own embodiment to purify the heart. There are 7 powers, as I mentioned at the start of this book, or 7 climates. We need to go through these 7 powers and no longer be bound by them in order to attain the vision that's possible. That's actually our inheritance in being human from within the heart. These powers or climates are darkness, craving, ignorance, longing for death, enslavement to the physical body, the false peace of the flesh, and the compulsion of rage. The soul ascends because it does not seek to judge, nor does it attempt to dominate anything or anyone. And the soul cannot actually be harmed because it does not belong to the world of the flesh. We are here to attain the freedom the soul remembers. Christ led Mary through this process of transformation, the spiritual path of integration, this goal of becoming undivided. And this is why she is able to receive a vision from Christ from within her heart. Herself and her soul are one. She has become a true human being, and she can now teach what the other disciples never learned. She can be the apostle to the apostles as Christ's most beloved companion who mastered the vision Christ attained. Mary is able to step into Christ's ministry as the one who acquired his same peace, the one who is connected from within her heart to the same love that Christ made incarnate. And it goes on. And I think that this is such a beautifully written book. I thought this book was wonderful. And anybody who is interested in looking at Christianity from the perspective that you just heard, I would say you should pick it up and read it. This is Mary Magdalene Revealed by Megan Watterson. Tarot for creativity. I picked this up some months ago, maybe a year ago now. It's been a little while, and I have been dipping in this month. This is a fantastic book of spreads, basically, that is just for people who are looking for creativity. So it says in this guidebook, creative consultant Chelsea Pippin Mizzi teaches you how to use the tarot to tap into your personal well of inspiration. Take risks with the Fool or commit to your art practice with the Lovers, overcome your mental blocks with the Swords, and evaluate your process with the Wands. Whether you're an artist, writer, engineer, chef, or content creator, and whether you're a tarot novice or an experienced reader, you should find that this book offers thoughtful, down to earth advice for cultivating your creative magic. It's a wonderful book of just ways to think about your creativity using your tarot cards to help you find your way, basically. So I'll just give you a look at the table of contents here. So you've got part 1, your creative heroes, the major arcana, and each card has a little explanation of how that card represents creativity, and then also a spread. So you have a little bit of an introduction here, how to use the book, let the prompts inspire and challenge you. Use the spreads when you need them. Keep a tarot journal. Trust your creative impulses. I'm not creative. Is this book for me? And then anybody can use it, basically, to draw out your creativity. There's a little bit about the history of tarot and what it is, a little bit about that in the beginning, and then you get into it. So here we have the Fool. A little bit about how the Fool can assist you on your creative journey, and then a spread, and then some prompts. So write a story or a poem, create a self-portrait, make a mood board, journal. And then the spread here is to make a more personal connection with the card and dive deeper into what creative risks, what taking means to you. Use the following spread to explore the creative support the Fool has to offer. Where do I need more creative joy in my life? What risk do I need to take to access that joy? How can I help myself be brave enough to take this risk? I will admit that I have been working in this book quite a bit this month. I have not been using the spreads whatsoever. I've just been using the prompts and reading a little bit because I've been feeling a little bit, I don't know, I've just been feeling a little blocked recently, and this has been fun. So I have been adding this as a part of my deck and walk. I started back doing a deck and walk, y'all. We'll talk about those books in a minute. The Deck and Walk has been a whole thing, 3 years, and I've still not finished. I can't seem to get through with it. And so I'm trying to do things to kind of keep me engaged with it this time around. Because I said, if I don't finish it this time, I'm giving up. But so I've been for every card jumping in here to kind of see what I can find, right? As far as just helping me, because I've been feeling a little blocked. So I figured, let me pull this out. This will be helpful. This will be fun, right? So as you go through each section, you have like an introduction. I remember doing the Four of Cups because I was feeling kind of blocked and it was Cancer 3. And I was like, this is perfect. Reframing creative block with the Four of Cups. So it talks about the card and the imagery and how it basically is creative block. It says it's clear they've been looking for answers in these cups for some time without success. What the figure doesn't see yet is the fourth cup blooming out of the air like magic. Now, I'm not saying that the perfect idea you need is suddenly going to appear like a fairy godmother, but the card does offer some magical medicine because it's a reminder that you are allowed, even encouraged, to sit with your stagnancy instead of trying to fight off or ignore its presence. Are you stuck or do you need to slow down? And then it goes through, it talks about that. It says, by reframing moments of block as opportunities for stillness, you can develop a deeper sense of presence with your work and think differently about those moments when flow doesn't come easy. So every time you see this card, remember being stuck can be a block or it can be an opportunity to recover and think. And then it gives you some prompts and a spread. I did not do the spread. I am kind of feeling like I'm tired of spreads right now. There were a couple of things that you could do here. I did do the collage and I did the journaling. I didn't do these two, but there was the create a collage that captures what stillness means to you. Then there was a paint or draw a photo or photograph a still life using items that you feel drawn to in your home. Pay attention to how it feels to express stillness through a visual medium and how it might change your approach or to sitting still. Then it was write a story about a character who stays in one place the entire time. I started that, but then I couldn't sit still long enough to do it. Then there was journal about your past relationship with creative block. And then there was a tarot spread here. Where am I feeling creatively blocked right now? What can I learn from the sense of stuckness? How can I be compassionate with myself during this period of stillness? Did it shake my creative block loose? I don't know. I mean, I don't feel as blocked, but I definitely don't feel um I don't it gave me something to feel creative about. You know what I mean? Like when I finished, I had something done. You know what I mean? So there was that. So I think that this book is fun. It's fun and there's lots of great ideas in here and things to do. So if you're feeling stuck and you're feeling like you need some ideas of things to do, I like that in the front I can just kind of scroll through and look. I don't have to flip through the whole book to find things. I can just see here. Set your creativity free with the Eight of Swords. Acknowledge your anxieties with the Nine of Swords. I think I did that one this month. I did appreciate every creative day with the Ten of Pentacles. So you can kind of like look through the table of contents and just, find what you're looking for and then get there, which I like. And then in the back, there are some further spreads, sample readings that you can do to kind of help you with your creativity. Yeah, so this is great for those of us who are creative people who go through the cycles, certain parts of your cycle. If you're needing something to shake you loose, to help you be grateful for the creativity that you have, to help you see things in a different perspective, or just give you an idea of a way to be creative that's a little bit different than what you've been the projects you've always working on. I think that this is a fun addition to your tarot shelf. And there are, I mean, just addition to your shelf in general. I like the practices. Like I said, I didn't do any of the tarot spreads, but there are spreads in there as well. So that's the tarot for creativity. When I'm feeling like I want to do some inner work, when I'm feeling like, I'm not talking about shadow work, and I'm not talking about anything like that. I'm just talking about working on me outside of any kind of external influences. I'd like to use this book. I like to do when I want to work with my cards and have conversations with my cards. Um, but I want to get out of my own head. I like to use this book to help guide me. So when I pull a card, I come to this book to read what it says to get out of my own head. And that's what I use this for. And also, there are exercises in this book that I feel are really great to hone in on and things that I could work on continuously all the time. So let's just take a look. Table of contents, just really quickly. In the first part is all about how to use the cards, spreads, that kind of stuff. And then the part two is the part that I use the most, which is about the cards. And each suit is based on an interior part of yourself, like a part of you. So you've got in your body for the pentacles, your emotions for the cups, your voice for the swords, and your purpose for the wands. And then your story is the major arcana. So I like that it gets rid of all of the external situations, and I can just focus solely on me when I'm thinking about these meanings for the cards, because those are the types of readings that I use this guidebook for. So for the write-ups of the cards, you have in my body, Ace of Pentacles, all of them say in my body, right? It's because we're in my body. Ace of Pentacles, and you get a little poem. So it says, I shuffle and feel the gentle flutter of tarot cards against my palms. They begin to dance. My left hand guides the choreography. On this dance floor, I feel at home. And then it gives keywords: manifestation, potential growth, a path towards security, the beginning stages of a prosperous new venture, a space to land, a new ground to build on, a relationship opportunity or experience that promises abundance. And then you get into a meaning of what it means and what it can mean for you. And then connecting to the Ace of Pentacles. This is like something physically you can do. So this one says, place your body in the hands of Mother Earth. One of the most accessible, simple, and truly effective forms of grounding is to find a patch of grass or soil and plant yourself there. Take the deepest breath of your day and visualize the earth element making its way into your physical body. I often close my eyes and envision the earth's energy grounding through the roots of my feet, up my legs, and through my entire body until I'm standing taller, prouder, and stronger. There's a reflection section. So this one says deeper reflection, make a vision board. And then for the Two of Pentacles, it's the same sort of, all of them are the same. You get a poem, some keywords, a meaning, how to connect, and then a deeper reflection for all of them. And it's the same in the wands and everywhere else. So here's the 10 of Wands if you want to take a picture. So for me, I use this book when I really want to get out of my head. I really love this connecting section, which is like the actions that you can do, or some activities or rituals or anything that you can do when you're in that energy. And so I like that about this book. I think this could be a great. It's a tarot guidebook. Is it something that is groundbreaking? I don't think so. But if you're looking for something that's a little bit more personal in the explanations, especially if you're reading for other people and you're looking for ways to advise people, if you're doing those sorts of advice style readings, not just predictive readings, but actually give advice on things that they can do, activities they can do, giving homework and things like that, then this is a good one to kind of reference and think about, get some new thoughts on that, on the matters. This is the Inner Tarot. So as promised, these are the books that I'm using for the deck and walk. I'm only going to show these once, so this is it. So we've got the tarot and astrology. Enhance your readings with the wisdom of the zodiac. This is basically a correspondence book of all of the things that you can connect between tarot and astrology. Basically, you've got, which cards represent each suit, which card represents each house, how they, play together. We've got a deck-in section in here, everything. And so that's what I've been using this for. I'll just show you the table of contents. I start out with this. This is where I start for each deck-in. So you can see part one, we've got tarot, planets, and signs. Then it goes through the minor arcana, elementary astrology, tarot, astrology, and the Kabbalah. This is like history. And then the astrology in depth. And then here it lists out all the cards. So all the cards are in here, and these are not like card meanings. It talks about the card meanings, but it's really more for why we're in the astrological association. Why does it have the astrological association? That's why this is not a guidebook. I wouldn't suggest this as a guidebook if you're trying to learn how to read tarot, but if you want to learn how to combine tarot and astrology and why those combinations happen, this is a really good one because it breaks it down by the majors, the minors, the decans, and all of that. So I like this one. So I start here, and I always start with whatever card we're in. So I guess right now we're in the Six of Wands, and that's why I have this marked. So or we're going to be in the Six of Wands pretty soon. I must have already read the five. So it just gives like a little bit about that decan and why the Six of Wands is associated with Jupiter and Leo. And then I jump to the front and I read about Jupiter and Leo. So, and I can do that in this section. So we've got Capricorn. Hang on, I need Leo. So I would read the Leo section, and then I would read the Jupiter section, which is going to be back here somewhere, wherever it is. Like here's Neptune, but I would read Jupiter, and then I'd be done with this book. So that's the tarot and astrology. There's lots more in here, much more in here, but and I will be keeping this book for a long time. But that's what I'm using it for right now. And the 36 Secrets is another one. This is a fantastic book about the esoteric reasons, those esoteric reasons behind why the decans are assigned as they are to the cards. So here we have just like a little snippet of just, why just little bits. This is like a little intro just to kind of dip your foot in. This one gets deep. So I start here and then I go here to the 36 Secrets. And here we are, Leo 2. And it gives a lot more. So you have your Six of Wands here. And then it says it's the Wheel of Fortune and Strength are the two cards that go along with it. Strength is the Leo card, and the Wheel of Fortune is the one that goes with wherever we are, Jupiter. So we're Jupiter in Leo, and the decan, the second decan of Leo is the Six of Wands card. So it gives all that information. And then it goes through all of the esoteric meanings. She compares things, contrasts things, talks about the history, talks about Crowley, talks about our Waite, talks about everybody, gives you a little bit of prose at the end or a poem or something. I like this book. It's very intriguing. I don't always agree with everything that she writes. It doesn't all align with me, but I like to read it and I like the way she writes. So I'm going through this one. So it's just 36 Secrets, a decanic journey through the minor arcana of the tarot. This is new in my collection. Healing Burnout with Astrology and Tarot. I literally just got this book a couple of weeks ago. And so I just took a quick look at Leo 2. So this section is about releasing ego when it comes to winning, right? So the winning and losing and the binary between winners and losers and how you can win by giving as well as receiving and all of this sort of stuff. That's what this whole section is about. So it says there's an exercise on it's okay if I don't win. And I thought that this was interesting. And so I think I'm going to go through this. And it was about, so it says list your weaknesses. Begin by writing down a list of things that drain your energy or kill your joy. And then it says embrace your list. And instead of feeling ashamed or discouraged, understand that these are areas that you can learn more about how to delegate. Embrace your list, right? And then seek collaborators to help you. Like either you're going to write, I accept these parts of me through next to each thing that you list. And then think about how maybe, these things just aren't meant to be. Maybe you need to find someone to help you with that, delegate, whatever, and things that you can do to help yourself with that. And then attract the right relationships and then end with celebrating your strengths. So I thought that was interesting. I like this. Heroes don't always have followers with the sun and the strength. So it talks about the hero with 1,000 faces and how they don't always have followers. And then there was power together with the sun and strength. Visualize the sun, embrace your strength, imagine a powerful scenario. I think that this is interesting. So how I've been doing it, well, I've only had this book for 1 decade. So but what I've been doing is starting with this one, then digging into this one for the depth, and then this is like more active activities, right? And then also I have the other book, this one, the Tarot for Creativity. So yeah, this one, if I didn't find something in here, then I always have this as a backup. So those are the things that I'm using for the Decan Walk, and that's all the books that I'm going to talk about in this video. Whew, that was a lot. So that's it, guys. Those are all of the books that I wanted to talk about this month. It was a lot more than I thought it was going to be because I was doing that tarot readathon, and I read like 15 fiction books this month. So I didn't think I was going to have a lot to talk about, but I also wanted to talk. I didn't read all of these. I only read 2 of these for the readathon, this one and this one, but all the rest of them I was absolutely using. So I wanted to talk about them. So here we are, an hour later. Now, if you want to pick any of these up, I will put those Amazon links down in the description box below. If you use Amazon and you buy from them and you're going to purchase the decks, I really appreciate it when you use those links because it helps me. They credit me. All you need to do is, it doesn't cost you anything. You just need to click the link, add the sign in, and then add the thing to your cart and check. When you check out, they credit me. Doesn't cost you a thing. Doesn't add anything to your bottom line or anything. So I really appreciate it when you guys use those links. If you want to pick them up straight from the publishers, this one is Wiley. This one is Chronicle. These two are Hay House. Mary Magdalene Reveal and Healing Burnout with Astrology are from Hay House. This one is the who published this? Sounds True. This is Llewellyn, and I'm pretty sure you can only get this one from Amazon, but this is from T. Susan Chang. So that's it. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more from me, you can subscribe. I release videos every few days regarding tarot and oracle, and I would love to have you. Links will be in the description box below. And until I see you guys next time, stay safe and be blessed. Bye-bye.